Welcome everyone to Monday Match Analysis. I'm Gill Gross. What a hectic time this is in tennis. No time to breathe. Madrid ends. Rome starts. The French Open is in 2 weeks. This is insane. This is total insanity. Novak Djokovic back on the podium, so to speak, after winning the first major of the year, now 3 major titles in a row for Djokovic. I shouldn't say now. This is old news. But essentially, comes back after that, doesn't play well in Indian Wells, doesn't play well in Miami, doesn't play well or very well in Monte Carlo, losing to Daniil Medvedev in the quarterfinals. And finally, he is back to his title-winning ways, taking Madrid, doing so in quite impressively, beating Dominic Thiem, who at that time was, I think, the man to beat. Roger Federer doesn't think so. He said Nadal's still the man to beat. But I thought that he was playing the best tennis up to that point. He beats him in the semifinals, and then of course we don't get the Nadal-Djokovic final that we all expected after Djokovic beat Dominic Thiem, because Nadal loses in 3 sets to Stefanos Tsitsipas, which I don't think anyone really saw coming. Actually, some people did in the comments. But quite the shocker, especially because Nadal beat him so handily in Melbourne, and then you would think that the conditions would swing even further towards Rafa Nadal on his favorite surface. And of course, Tsitsipas after that match said, "I don't understand how anyone with a one-handed backhand can possibly beat this guy." And he proved his own hypothesis wrong, so to speak. But it says something about Tsitsipas and his mentality. We'll get into that a little bit later. French Open power rankings make their return. I did not revisit them last week, which might have been a mistake. But anyway, it's been a really long time. I mean, there hasn't been an issue of the French Open power rankings since, and I'll get an exact date here. The last French Open power rankings, oh no, maybe I won't get an exact date, was late April. I want to say 22nd, and now it is May 13th. If my thing would load. Yes, April 22nd was the last French Open power rankings. It is now May 13th. A lot of time has passed. There are some significant changes. And at the top, there hadn't been many significant changes. And finally, at the top, there's been a bit of a reshuffling. Also later in the show, Rome quarter by quarter preview. So a lot to look forward to. This has been the longest intro of all time in Monday Match Analysis history. So let's get right to it. I was making a lot of videos during the Madrid quarterfinals and the semifinals, and I had to stop making videos because I had to go on a little road trip for some business. So let's talk a bit about Nadal and Tsitsipas. I just finished watching the 3rd set of that match. I didn't have time to watch the entire match. But Nadal lost in a way that I had never seen him lose before. I've never seen Nadal get so tight at the net, and his volleys are so damn underrated. Or either they're underrated or so many people have been calling them underrated that they're now overrated. Regardless, they're really, really, really solid. And it's rare to see Nadal flub up at the net. But he did it 3 times down the stretch in this match. He did it, and I did kind of speed through watching this match, kind of skipping in between points and stuff. But I know it contributed to the break, and he missed an easy volley on break point. And then trying to break Tsitsipas back, I believe he had a costly, easy missed volley. I've never seen that from Nadal. Tsitsipas was a bit more consistent in the big moments. And I think the biggest thing for Nadal is he's getting outgunned. And that can't happen. He cannot get outgunned. So Tsitsipas's forehand is such an unbelievable weapon. And that's why he's really good on clay. He's not great on clay because he's unbelievably consistent or he's unbelievably quick and hard to hit it by. His serve, which is a weapon, is almost neutralized a bit by the clay. So why is he good on clay? In my opinion, it's the forehand. And not only that it's such a massive weapon, but how many forehands he's able to generate for himself. Tsitsipas has unbelievable footwork moving to his left. He does such a great job of not only finding himself a forehand, but getting there in time, with time to set up his forehand, so he stops his leftward momentum and is able to move into the court when he hits that forehand, to get his body weight moving forward into the court when he hits the forehand, but also creating a lot of space between the ball and his body. So a lot of players, they'll create for themselves forehands, but their footwork is either too lazy or not quick enough, or just not precise enough to make enough space between the body and the ball. And also a lot of the time they're not getting there in time, and yeah, they're hitting forehands, but they're really just trailing off to the left as they hit it towards their backhand corner, which is not what you want. Tsitsipas is so good at finding himself forehands because his footwork moving to the left is so good. And then when he hits the forehand, I don't think people realize exactly how much RPMs, how much spin Tsitsipas is generating on that forehand and how heavy that ball is. He doesn't have the sort of the buggy whip tendencies that Nadal has, and he has so much more pace on it than a Jack Sock, and he doesn't have as extreme a grip as a Kyle Edmund or like a Karen Khachanov. And all of these players that I just mentioned, they get a lot of attention for putting these incredible amounts of topspin on the ball. But I think Tsitsipas doesn't really get mentioned in that as much. And I think it's because he doesn't use an extreme grip. He doesn't really finish over his same shoulder. And he also gets a lot of pace on it. So for some reason, maybe it's tougher to notice how much his ball is kicking up off the court, how consistent he is attacking with his forehand, and how hard it is to deal with that shot for the opponents of Stefanos Tsitsipas. And Nadal is supposed to have the same thing, but here's what's not happening enough in Nadal's game. Nadal's forehand is not getting him ahead in rallies as much as it needs to. And I think that's a big problem for him right now. His forehand wasn't bad in this match. It's just it needs to be the kind of weapon where it's almost a nuclear bomb that you're stepping on if you give Nadal too good a look at a forehand. And against Stefanos, it wasn't that weapon. So I think there's two levels higher that Nadal can reach with his forehand, and he's not reaching that level right now. And we know with the modern state of Nadal's game, where he needs to be offensive to be successful, that forehand needs to be at the highest level. He's losing to players like Dominic Thiem and Stefanos Tsitsipas, who are actually outgunning him from the back with their forehands. Some of the few players that can do it, mind you. Nadal isn't losing to bad players. He's losing to really, really good players. But he's still losing, and we're not used to seeing that on clay. For Nadal, if he doesn't win Rome, I think it'll be the first time that he hadn't won any of the French Open warm-ups since 2004. And if it's not 2004, then maybe it's 2003 or 2002. But I know it's the first time since 2004 that he hadn't won Monte Carlo or Madrid, which is unbelievable. Let's move on to the final. Novak Djokovic. Wow. So I think that the two things that have been lagging for Djokovic, and to a certain extent everything was lagging for Djokovic after the Australian Open, but I think the two biggest things, we talked about in general his offense, but I think his forehand, his ability to be confident with his forehand and create offense from it off the ground, and two, his cardio and his fitness. And I think especially the forehand looked like it was back, because I think that Djokovic's defense, his quickness, and his return, I feel like that had always been there. It was just when it was time to really take a more aggressive stance, when he was playing players who are just as consistent as he was having trouble taking a more aggressive, playing a more aggressive role and attacking, especially with his forehand. He finally found his forehand in Rome. He found it in spurts against Dominic Thiem, and then even more against Tsitsipas. He was able to completely neutralize, almost completely neutralize the Tsitsipas serve. In Madrid, that's so incredibly impressive. We're so used to seeing that from Djokovic throughout his entire career. And then he was also hanging in rallies a little bit longer. And his cardio and his fitness, it's going to get better, because I think that there are still levels higher. And when I said that Dominic Thiem could beat him on fitness, I still believe he could have done that if Thiem played that match a little bit differently. I don't anticipate that remains the case in Paris. And, I really think when you're looking back and you're reflecting on Novak Djokovic, what happened here is he won the Australian Open, he took vacation, he was distracted by off-the-court issues and did not get enough training in, was not ready to play this American hard-court swing, and slowly he's rounded into form and gotten into better and better shape. My thoughts was I was kind of always planning on picking him to win Rome. I thought about picking him to win Madrid, and I thought I'll still go with Thiem in the form that he's in. So Djokovic, this isn't the first time this has happened, but I've expected him to get back to the top level, the highest level, and he just did it a little bit before I expected. And that was that. All right, it's time for Rome. This is the thumbnail. It's one of my favorite courts in tennis. I love the angle, how angled the stands are. So even if you're on the upper deck, you're still pretty close to the court. That creates like a louder environment, and it's all in all, I like it. Let's get into this preview. Rome preview. Novak Djokovic's quarter. The seeds are Del Potro once again, same seed that he had in Madrid, Daniil Medvedev, and Marco Cecchinato. I think Djokovic comes out of it. My dark horse is Casper Ruud, and it's probably the first time I've mentioned him on this channel. I don't think it'll be the last. This is a 20-year-old Norwegian whose favorite surface is clay, plays at the Rafa Nadal Academy, has a really big forehand, and he's also, I think, in somewhat of a vulnerable section in Rome, where you have Del Potro coming off injury. He's 0-1 so far this year. And then you have Wawrinka, who's looked pretty good, playing Goffin, who's been one of the biggest disappointments of 2019. Maybe he'll turn it around, maybe not. And then you have Medvedev. Medvedev's a tough out, actually. Medvedev's playing Kyrgios in the first round. I expect Medvedev to beat Nick on this surface. But he avoids Djokovic in this quarter. So I could maybe see Casper Ruud as a dark horse. I don't fully believe in this pick. I don't think he's ready. But I could maybe see him as a dark horse, at least getting to play Djokovic in the quarterfinals. Upset alert, Juan Martín Del Potro. I don't know how much of an upset this would be if he played Stan Wawrinka in the second round, but I suppose I'll put that on upset alert. Del Potro coming off injury. It's a bit of a cop-out pick, to be honest, if I'm criticizing myself. Early popcorn. I don't know why I didn't put Medvedev and Kyrgios. But I don't really think that'll be that good a match, Medvedev and Kyrgios. I think Medvedev might win that pretty easily, because I just, on this surface, I feel like Medvedev is going to be able to get enough balls in the court where Kyrgios will honestly just get pretty frustrated. And I don't think he'll be willing. I don't think we'll see the patient version of Nick Kyrgios that can be so dangerous, just because he can't stand clay. So it doesn't really bode well. But maybe. We'll see. Let's see. Oh, whoops. The actual popcorn matchup, though, Wawrinka and Goffin. Goffin really needs a win here, is all I'll say about that. Goffin needs to start stepping it up because I'm not really sure what's going on. He's having a good year. He got injured last season with the unlucky eye injuries. But I'm just really surprised this season that he's come out and he hasn't climbed back up to where he was, because I believe, he should be, I think he's like 28, 29 years old, really should be in his prime right now, and has just wonderful racket talent, wonderful ability to change direction off the ground, and wonderful precision off of his forehand and his backhand. I don't think you guys need much explaining for why I think Djokovic comes out of this quarter, but I'll talk quickly about his draw. Shapovalov loses so much from the clay. I mean, his game is so much worse on the dirt. He's not comfortable moving on it. He doesn't put enough balls in the court. He's too impatient. It takes away from his offense. Players can get it up high on his backhand. He's much worse on clay. Kohlschreiber, Cecchinato. Cechinato's tough. Cecchinato will probably beat Kohlschreiber, and Cecchinato is a tough matchup. But still, right now, I think the kind of player who can beat Djokovic is not going to be someone who needs to win points quickly or relatively quickly. It's going to be someone who's willing to really drag things out and try to get to Djokovic's legs. Cechinato's not really that guy. Roger Federer's quarter. This is a tough one to pick because this quarter's pretty stacked. Tsitsipas, the reigning finalist at Madrid. Fabio Fognini, who looks incredibly focused. Borna Coric, who, besides lacking the big forehand, can be kind of difficult on clay with his fitness and his defense. This is a really good quarter. I think every seed is pretty good in this quarter, where Djokovic's quarter is really not as strong as this quarter, in my opinion. Why is this going the wrong way? Dark horse, Benoit Paire. I always like it when a player as good as Paire gets through the qualifying rounds. That's always dangerous because now they're used to the conditions. They're on a bit of a win streak here. They've been settled in, with whatever kind of getting used to the time, getting used to the climate, getting used to, I already said, the court conditions. Like, I always like it when a player as good as Benoit Paire qualifies for a Masters event. They become very, very dangerous. Paire is incredibly quick, good defensively, which is really great for clay, and can be very crafty to find his offense. He's got a good backhand, which he flattens out, but also uses the drop shot, likes to come to net, and has a pretty big serve as well. Benoit Paire has an eclectic game, and let's see, who would he be drawing in this draw? Where's Paire? Oh, Paire plays Albit in the first round. Not a bad draw for him in the first round. And then he'd have to play Fognini in the next round, which would be highly entertaining match. But he's just a disruptive player. That's why he's the dark horse. Upset alert, none. Again, I really like this quarter. Coric gets Cam Norrie. That's a tough matchup, but Norrie's a guy who is going to try to win, with consistency and fitness, and Coric has pretty good consistency and fitness. Tsitsipas is playing the young Italian. What is it? Is it Yarko? It's not Yarko. Yanko, not Yarko. Yannick Sinner. Who I haven't seen yet, but I believe he's 17 years old. He's already won a Challengers title, which is not easy to do. And that's my early popcorn, is Tsitsipas and Yannick Sinner. Can't wait to see this kid. Italian, hometown kid. I've heard very good things. And they will play in the second round because Sinner beat Stevie Johnson. Talk about a difficult win. Oh, my God. Stevie Johnson on clay. Stevie Johnson is a fitness animal. His forehand is huge. He gets so much spin on his forehand. And then his backhand, he has none. He just slices it. But that's a tough guy to beat. So that's very impressive at 17. Let's see. Did I get through everything? Oh, let me explain why I picked Roger Federer instead of Tsitsipas, who was so darn impressive in Madrid. The reason is because this is a lot of tennis for Tsitsipas now. 3 weeks in a row. He played Barcelona. I mean, he won Estoril, rather. I don't know why I get those confused. He won Estoril, then he made the final in Madrid, and now he's going to turn around, play Rome immediately. That's too much tennis. So that's why. And Roger Federer was incredibly impressive in this tournament, and I've already kind of talked about that. But, I mean, he had every chance to beat Dominic Thiem. Obviously, he had the match points. So, I mean, what a successful tournament that was for Federer, looking so impressive. And the conditions in Rome, they're a little bit worse, but still, I think he looked good enough, and he obviously feels good enough even playing this tournament. You know, if he didn't feel great, he wouldn't play this tournament, where I think Federer's the pick here. Fognini looks very focused, and it's his home country. He'll be a tough out, and hopefully we get Federer-Fognini, because that would be very special. Okay, next quarter. What is going on with my slides? I don't know. I am trying. Oh, this went in a crazy order. This did not go in order. So I talked about Djokovic's quarter, but then the quarter under Djokovic's quarter is Sascha Zverev's quarter. So it accidentally skipped one. Okay, got it. Sorry about that. So it's Zverev, Nishikori, Cilic, Monfils. It's an interesting quarter. I think a miracle quarter for Zverev. I think Zverev should be so happy about this. I'm taking him. He's getting better and better. The distractions are behind him. He played very well against Tsitsipas. That was a good match for him. And, I think right now Tsitsipas is a level or two above Zverev. But it's getting better and better. It'll continue to get better. This is probably my favorite surface for Zverev because I do believe that the consistency that he brings to the table can bring him a very, very long way on clay. So I think he gets through this. Guido Pella is the dark horse. He's in the top 20, Pella. Unbelievable. So unseeded, which is why I still get to make him the dark horse. But let's see his draw and who he's getting. But Pella beat Medvedev, I believe, last week. Continues to be very, very impressive. It's so hard to find these people when I'm looking at the draw. Pella. Oh, there he is. Okay. Pella plays Taylor Fritz in the first round. And then Kei Nishikori. That's why I have Kei Nishikori on upset alert. Nishikori hasn't had the best clay court season. I'm surprised. If you look at the ELO ratings, which is a tennis, it's a metric that kind of attempts to measure, just measure how good players are. It's kind of an alternate ranking. It takes into account how good your opponent is. So it's like a rankings if you got more points for beating a better opponent than beating a worse opponent. Kei Nishikori is well inside the top 10 in clay court ELO ratings, which I was surprised when I checked this morning. But he's much better on hard court, Nishikori. Grew up on hard courts, I believe, in Florida, and doesn't get much benefit from the clay. Early popcorn in that quarter, it's none. And again, the winner, Sascha Zverev. So Federer's quarter, I already went over. And then lastly, we have Nadal's quarter. Nadal gets the bomb. He gets the dreaded Thiem as his 5 seed in his quarter. Then Karen Khachanov and Nicolas Basilashvili. Tough quarter for Rafa Nadal, especially having to play possibly Basilashvili in the third round. I think that's pretty bad luck for Nadal because Basilashvili will slug the ball, and if it's going in and Nadal is lacking some confidence, that can be difficult. I know they played a pretty close match at the U.S. Open last year, so I think Nadal will be rooting for Laszlo Djere, who plays Basilashvili in the second round, who can very capable of beating him as well. I think that's tough for Nadal. First round, he would get Gasquet, winner of Gasquet and Shardy. That's good news because neither of them play very well against the top guns. Karen Khachanov is on upset alert because I think there's a very good chance he will lose to Bautista Agut, who does a good job of keeping the ball not only in the court, but keeping it very low. Karen Khachanov hates that. So I like that as an upset pick. And popcorn match, I'm not very excited about, to be honest. Thiem and Verdasco, I don't know. But that's all I could come up with. But I am picking Thiem to get through this over Nadal. Just because of form. Just because of who I think is playing the better tennis right now. That is literally it. Nadal, I think, is in a place where now, before the best of 5 comes, and I think that's a different story. Until then, he just needs to show a little bit more off his forehand side and more confidence. So right now I got Thiem. Now, with that being said, Nadal has done a pretty good job every single year making sure that Thiem only beats him once and not twice. And I'll leave it at that. Whoops. All right, final weekend. Oh my God, this is a mess. What a mess. I don't know what's going on with my slides. Final weekend, Djokovic beats Zverev in 3 sets. Thiem beats Federer in 2 sets, and Djokovic beats Thiem in 3 sets. So we could be getting some rematches if my predictions are right. I was good. Oh my God, I apologize for this. Oh my God. Madrid, it's for some reason when I'm clicking, it's double clicking, and I don't know why that is. I went 4 for 4 semifinalists in Madrid, so I'm on a hot streak there, although I did pick both semifinals wrong, even though I kind of thought Djokovic would win. But I stuck with my pick before tournament and went with Dominic Thiem, but kind of thought Djokovic would win that. Let's go to the power rankings. This is absolutely massive. The most important moment, the moment that you've all been waiting for. French Open Power Rankings, May 13th edition. Novak Djokovic moves up to number 1 from number 2. Dominic Thiem moves up from number 3 to number 2. Nadal falls to number 3. Who would have thought? I certainly wouldn't have predicted this, but this is where we are. The power rankings are a reflection of how good players are right now at this moment. This is not a French Open prediction. If the French Open were a pop quiz and they had to play it tomorrow, where would things stand? And right now, I think Nadal, with the limitations that he's shown physically, limitations that I think he can overcome if he gets his forehand right. But so far, he hasn't really gotten his forehand consistently where he needs it. Federer stays at number 4. I'm pretty sure Roger Federer has been at number 4 for the entirety of this French Open Power Rankings. It's been like 2.5, 3 months now we've been doing this, and I don't think Roger Federer has moved. January 28th was the first French Open Power Rankings, and Roger Federer was at number 4. He has yet to move. He's just outside that top 3 of Djokovic, Thiem, and Nadal. Djokovic, Thiem, and Nadal have done some shuffling around, but Federer has stayed put. Stefanos Tsitsipas, a return to number 5. The last time he was at number 5 was April 15th. Moved all the way down to number 10 after not making too much noise. But then he wins Estoril. He looks unbelievable in Madrid. And we're talking about a guy who is the Australian Open semifinalist. Stefanos Tsitsipas is number 5. Sascha Zverev, moving on up. Actually, he moved down, but we're just going to ignore that. He's down to number 6, but not because he didn't play well, just because Tsitsipas played so well. He bumps Zverev down 1. But now I feel more confident that Zverev is going to stay up here. For a while, I just had him in, and I'm like, you know what, guys? I don't know if he's going to stay here. I don't really know what's going on with him. Actually, Yeah, I didn't really think he was going to stay there, but now I feel pretty confident that Zverev will only move up or stay the same from here. Number 7, Fabio Fognini. He was here last week. He's staying there. Fabio Fognini, he's chilling at number 7. A guy who, if he's fully focused, no one wants to play. Although I kind of question if he has the conditioning in best of 5 sets to make a deep run into the second week of the French Open. I question that. I don't know about that. But that's why he's not higher. That's why he's number 7. Marco Cecchinato. He's actually staying put at number 8. There should not be an NR next to his name. There should be nothing next to his name because he was number 8 last week. Cecchinato, reigning French Open semifinalist, continues to show that he's a force to be reckoned with on clay. Not, he's not ready to really, I don't think he's ready to take the world by storm like he did last year at the French Open, but he's definitely a player. Stan Wawrinka, he continues to do some winning on the dirt, just hasn't had that big week yet. Stan is still, he hasn't found his former level, but he's still at a very, very high level. So he was up at number 6, down to number 9. I mean, we're starting to realize, I don't know if Stan's no threat really to win the thing, but again, that's why he's number 9. But he does deserve to be in the top 10 because he continues to have pretty deep runs at these clay courts events. And then a debut in the number 10, someone who is very, very, very deserving, someone who leads the tour in clay court victories, Guido Pella. Good to see him in the top 10. Just a model of consistency is Guido Pella. And even when he got to play Nadal, I think in Monte Carlo, he had a good showing for himself. So he'll continue to be someone who no one wants to play at the French Open. And that is your French Open Power Rankings. That does it for this week's edition of Monday Match Analysis. Let's see, what do we got next week? Next week, we're gonna recap Rome, talk about that final. Should be a good week of tennis. I'm traveling to London for the next 7 weeks. There will be more information on that coming. Stay tuned. Very exciting. I will be finally, for the first time in my life, I will be attending Wimbledon this year. I believe I will be attending the French Open this year. It's going to be good. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.